This week on JEB and Flow, we are talking about the mentality, the mindset of more, and how that might be detrimental, not just to your training, but to other areas of your life as well. It's not always about more. And there's so many things out there right now telling us that you need to do this more. You need more of that. Buy more of the other thing. More, and it is toxic if you let it get the best of you. So, check out this episode. We'll get into some of the ways that we can dial it back and maybe do less better. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to JEB and Flow here on the Street Parking Podcast channel. Start with a couple of deep breaths before we get into it here. So if you can, close your eyes. Sit up tall. Relax your face, relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. Take a deep breath in. Hold that breath in. And slowly let it out. Try to breathe in through your nose on this one. Feel your chest expand, feel your belly expand. Take another little breath of air in at the top. Let it out slow. One more. Full, deep breath in. Slowest, longest exhale on the way out. Blink your eyes open. And here we are. Let me know what you guys think about that breathing at the top of the episode. I love it. It really brings me into the room. Feel like helps me connect with everyone out there that's paying attention. But I'm curious to know what you think. This week, I've got something really great for you. It's something that I think we all battle with in one way or another. It's the more mentality, the more mindset. Do I need to be doing more? I want more. I need more. More. It's toxic. I want to tell you a little story. We used to do these, I don't know what you'd call them, street fairs, or we'd go to these events, right? Go to these events and I'd set up a booth and it'd be like me, Carolina, maybe some other coaches or members of my gym. We'd have flyers. We would do workouts in the street. We would do challenges and have people win prizes and that kind of thing. And people would sign up for introductory sessions to come by our gym. And it was a great way to bring new people in. And it was fun also. So this guy signed up for an intro session. He left his email, his phone number, that kind of thing. And he was a doctor. I don't know a doctor of what, I'll be honest with you. But he was a doctor. And so I called him and to set up this intro session, and his secretary or front of office person answered the phone. Dr. So-and-so's office. Hey, is Dr. So-and-so there? And I get him on the phone. We're talking. He's like, well, what's going on in this intro session? I'm like, well, you'll come in, I'll give you a tour, talk about what it is that you want to, what are your fitness goals, tell you what you can expect from our program, and then we'll actually do a little sample workout. And he's like, well, how long is the actual workout? And I was like, I'd say probably 8 to 15 minutes, depending on your level of fitness. And he just over the phone, he's just like, oh no, that's not enough. No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I thought you were talking that it was going to be like a real workout. And I was like, you don't even know what we're going to do. And he's like, no, that's not enough. That's not enough. And he hung up the phone. And, when you have a business and you're trying to attract clients, you get hung up on a lot. So not a big deal. But I just remember, no diss on doctors, because they do a lot of schooling and there's a lot of great doctors out there and they're very educated. But sometimes there's this hubris, this arrogance that kind of masks some ignorance when it comes to certain things. And that was clearly happening with this guy. And so I just remembered that. It's kind of funny. He thought he needed to do more than 8 to 15 minutes. He didn't even know what we were going to do. And that's probably one of the most common questions that we get as coaches or kind of faces of street parking. People will reach out and ask, like, is that really all you do? Is just the daily workouts? Like, what else are you doing? And I say, yeah. And honestly, when people email in and they're like, wait, so we're supposed to do the suns out, guns out, and then the workout, and then the post endurance accessory, because that's what it says. And I thought this was like a short, workout program, and this is taking me like an hour and a half. And I'm like, no, you're not supposed to be doing all of that unless you want to, but no, you're not supposed to be doing all of that. And there's no way that you could do it that fast, and you don't have to. So I realized that there's some confusion, and it's not even confusion. I think we just always want to feel like if we're not at where we want to be right now, then there must be more that we can do right now. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it's like you just have to be patient. You just have to continue doing what you're doing, but you have to be patient. So other forms of that question is like, do I need to be doing more? I haven't hit my goals. What else can I do? Is 11 minutes really enough? That was one that I got recently. But the most common one is like, is that all you guys do? And I can tell you that when I look around the office, in a given day, everyone here at the office does one workout session. And it's almost always the daily workout. Sometimes it would be like an accessory, like there's people that like to do the endurance workouts together and that kind of thing. And sometimes the only time I'd say that there's like regularly, like Salvio over here, he's doing 20 reps back squats. And so he'll rip out like his 20 reps of back squats sometimes before we get into a workout. Salvi's also like 20, how old are you? It's 27? 20, just turned 27, right? And super duper fit. So, for me, if I do 2 workout sessions in a day and I do that for 3 days, I'm wrecked. I'm wrecked for the week. There's no way. 1 workout session a day, and that session is 20 to 30 minutes. The workout's probably like 12 to 15, maybe 20. And that's it. I feel great. We have this awesome Unlocked newsletter. I talked about in the last episode the Unlocked series of newsletters, and they're saved on members only under Learn Unlocked. And I highly recommend you just pick one of those and read it, like read one once a week or something. They give you a lot of insight into how we approach our programming, how we come up with this programming, how we approach fitness and how it all works. Kind of a little behind the scenes look at how it all works and how it's worked for us and how we've seen it work for thousands and thousands and thousands of other people. So I highly recommend checking those out. And there's one newsletter actually called Do I Need to Work Out More? And I want to read you just a short sentence from that newsletter. Results are not an outcome of more. Your results will come from consistency and pushing intensity. pushing your physical and psychological tolerances and what that means for you personally. So that's what it is. It's being consistent. It's exploring intensity. It's doing that over and over and over again. And as you do that more, your intensity will ramp up and get higher. And there are different types of intensity, physically and psychologically, and even emotionally. And all of that stuff will evolve and it will change over time as long as you keep showing up. It doesn't have to be super duper intense all the time. And in fact, that's kind of another issue. Maybe it's its own episode, who knows? But we also have a coaches roundtable that we talked about this particular newsletter on. And Miranda, myself, Alex, Julian, all dug deep into that newsletter. And so I would highly recommend checking out that on the YouTube channel or on the podcast audio streaming platforms as well. But the difference between poison and medicine and nothing, something that you don't feel at all, is dosage and timing. Right? If you take too much of something all at once, it could be toxic. If you take not enough of something, you won't feel it at all. And if you take just the right amount of something, it will have the desired effect. And eventually that will wear off, which means that you will then need to take another dose. But taking 5 doses across 5 days is different than taking 5 doses all at once. Your body is your body. Your body responds to stimuli, whether it's chemical stimuli from a pill that you take or chemical or hormonal stimuli that you are experiencing from stress that you're subjecting your body to physically. So we're kind of looking for the minimum effective dose with the way that we approach fitness. What's the minimum amount of work we need to perform, or the minimum amount of time in which we need to perform a fixed amount of work to get the desired effect so that we can get something out of it, but we're not spending all our time in our gym just twiddling our thumbs. And a dose is really there's a lot of factors when it comes to a dosage of fitness. Obviously, the big one is exercise selection, right? What movements are we doing? How are you moving your body? For how long? How long are we going to be doing this for? Are we doing it for multiple intervals of short bouts, or are we doing it for one long bout? How many repetitions are we going to be doing of these movements? How do these movements interact with one another? What type of loading are we talking about? Heavy, light, body weight? What kind of distances are we talking? Are we moving loads across distances? Are we moving ourselves across distances? Think about a shoulder press, right? What's the distance that the load travels, and what are the muscles being used compared to a squat clean thruster? What distance does the weight travel on a squat clean thruster? It goes from the ground to the shoulder, back down into a squat, and then all the way overhead. So that's a much greater distance than a shoulder press. And you have to take that into account when you're talking about dosing fitness. And a squat clean thruster is also quite a bit more difficult technically and mechanically than a shoulder press or a bicep curl or something like that. So difficulty becomes a factor. Difficulty also means that you need to be sharper and thinking more clear. So it's going to have sort of more of a cognitive component to it. Your central nervous system can take a beating during some of these workouts. So it's important to take that into consideration when dosing them properly. So if the workout, let's say you work out for 10 minutes and you are walking and you're a fit person, you can run a 6-minute mile and you walk for 10 minutes. That's an ineffective dose. And let's say you work out for 10 minutes, but you are doing the heaviest possible amount of weight that you can move, forget about technique, and you're moving as fast as you possibly can, and you're doing movements that when combined are not allowing any kind of a break for your joints, your tendons, your connective tissues, your soft tissues, anything like that. And they're very complex, right? That is a recipe for disaster. So we're looking for the right dose, and we're looking for that dose to be consistent. The more intensity that you're bringing into your workout, the more thorough that your warm-up needs to be. So intensity is something that you can't just start at super high intensity. You're going to ramp it up no matter what. So the people that think that they do high intensity workouts but don't actually warm up, if you're doing a 10-minute workout and you don't warm up, guess what? You might get 2 or 3 minutes at the very end of intensity, because that first 7 or 8 minutes, your body is just trying to acclimate and get primed for intensity. So you've wasted 7 or 8 minutes of that workout. But intensity is one of these things that I just want to talk about quickly, because it is very relative and it's something that's very confused. What is intense for you might not be intense for somebody else, might be way too intense for somebody else. So really only you can gauge the level of intensity for you. And that intensity is going to be determined by duration and, let's say, volume and loading as well. But I would say primarily for what we're talking about, duration. For 20 minutes, you cannot sprint. You can sprint for about 10 seconds. So there's no such thing as a 20-minute sprint. However, you could do the highest possible level of intensity for 20 minutes. You're just not going to be at as fast of a pace as you would for a 100-meter sprint. One thing that you can think about with intensity is like a rate of perceived effort. And there's the original scale is weird. It goes from like 6 to 20, but think about it as a scale of 1 to 10. And if 10 is max effort, 10 is that 100-meter sprint, 10 is that 1 rep max snatch. It's unsustainable for more than a few seconds. You're not able to speak. It can only last a few seconds. 9 would be like really hard to breathe. You can only speak a few words. It's hard to maintain intensity. 8 will say vigorous. You're working out vigorously. You could maintain intensity for a little bit longer, but you're breathing heavy. Maybe you could speak a sentence, but not much more than that. And a 7 would be hard to hold a conversation, but you might be able to like go back and forth with somebody a little bit, few words here, a few words there. Breathing heavy, you could maintain it. It's not comfortable, but you could probably do it. And then like 4 to 6, elevated breathing. Pace is somewhat challenging, but like you're cruising. Below that, you could just go for hours. Now, we live in that like 8 to 9 range. That's where we want to be. So think about it in terms of how your body's feeling, not necessarily how fast you're going, right? So if somebody can do 20 box jumps in 20 seconds and feel great, cool. Maybe they can somehow find a way to, maybe that's a bad example. Maybe they can somehow find a way to do them any faster. But if somebody can do 5 jumps in 20 seconds and they're completely winded and they can't speak and they can't go on, well, then maybe that's even too intense. Maybe they need to do 3 box jumps in 20 seconds. right? If they're very deconditioned, haven't worked out, been sitting on the couch for a few years, maybe it's like box jump, breathe for 5 seconds, box jump, breathe for 5 seconds, and that's going to be the perfect amount of intensity for them. So it's relative, and that RPE, the rate of perceived effort, you can use that to gauge where you need to be in your workout, not necessarily how hard you need to be making the workout, how much weight you need to be using, how difficult the movement variation you're doing is. The weight, the movement variations, all of that should be governed by the RPE, not the other way around. So think about that stuff. And for your action item this week, I would suggest that you check out that newsletter, right? So go check out the SP Unlock newsletter. Do I need to work out more? The last thing I'll say here is that the more mentality, it carries over into other parts of your life. And the only more that we want to see here at Street Parking is more than nothing. So if you focus on being consistent, doing more than nothing, and exploring with intensity over time, and keep showing up for yourself, you're going to be fine. That's all you need to do. And when you can reach a level of acceptance for that, you will notice a level of acceptance that carries over into other elements of your life. It will affect your expectations of others in a positive way. You'll see it playing out in your personal relationships. The more mentality affects every part of our existence. So if you get in touch with it and you make the changes you need to make, you'll be really happy with the way that you feel it play out in every part of your life. That's enough out of me. I love you. Talk to you soon.